So today's video is going to be a little bit of a different kind of video since I can't go out much. I'm going to talk to you about the first time I went to San Francisco and the first time I went to Las Vegas. It was all on the same trip. This was back in 1994, and I had graduated high school and decided to go out west for a while. There's the old baggage claim for San Francisco, SFO. I went to San Diego on that trip too. Turn this around here. This is an old scrapbook. I kept all this stuff in. I still got it to this day. There's the old Charlie in San Diego. Now this would have been early November of '94. This was Las Vegas claim tag. There's a hotel I stayed in, the San Remo. Which is no longer there. Now this picture here is of the Golden Gate Bridge. You can see off here in the distance. Alcatraz will be over this way. And there's some old pictures of Chinatown. I stayed in Embarcadero Center at let's see, it was the Embassy Suites. It was right next to Chinatown. And let me tell you something, these streets are very steep. If you ain't never been to San Francisco, they're very steep. Hard walking, but good when you're 18, 19 years old. And this shot here is from my room window. This would have been from the Embassy Suite shooting towards this here. There's the old Oakland Bridge there that partially collapsed in the earthquake a year or two earlier. Oh yeah, and this is I don't know where all the pictures went from Las Vegas. I have this one in this book, but somewhere they are. This is my first trip to Las Vegas in '94. This is Fremont Street, and you can see back in those days there was no canopy, it was just open. There's Vegas Vic, the Pioneer Club. So that's pretty cool. And there he is, way back then. Skinny and all. And that's the Golden Gate Bridge behind me. Now this here picture is of, that's Alcatraz right there. There's another one of Alcatraz. And let me tell you something, it was cold and nasty weather that time of year. I got one clear day, I believe, the whole time I was there. That'll be on this picture here. I was shooting out of my window from the hotel. This here is the Port of San Francisco. If you've seen the movies and all, if you've been there, you know that's right on the bay there. And there's that double-decker bridge that partially collapsed in the earthquake. And this picture here is another one of Chinatown. Now during this time period, it was a crazy time period. There was some wars going on between the gang members, the Chinese gang members, and remember everybody said don't go out at night because it was real hot and heated in '94, that time period. There's another one there, Chinatown. Got some delicious food when I was there. I love Chinese food. Yeah, I think this is down at Pier 39. All the SEALs out there eating, hanging out, relaxing. I can't remember if those are called SEALs or something else. I can't remember. Tell me in the comment section. There's the old San Diego transfer baggage. So, back in this time period, when I went out to, this was '94, November '94, I went out to Las Vegas first, transferred to San Diego, went to San Francisco, came back and hung out in San Diego, and then went back and hung out for another week in Las Vegas. At this time, I was only 18 years old, so I had a very good ID that showed me being 22-year-old. I had some help. because going out there by yourself and all, hard to do at 18-year-old because some of the places you can't check into and all, especially Las Vegas. So at that time, I wasn't really a gambler or anything to say. I was enamored by the history of Las Vegas. I thought it was the coolest place on earth. Loved the history of Las Vegas. So my time there, I went out and just roamed around, and it was cool because I remember the night I was there. I believe it was I stayed at San Remo, which was across the street from the MGM, which had just been built a year earlier. They had a big fight that night. It was Evander Holyfield versus Michael Moore. And I remember the whole town was lit up because of that big fight going on. But I remember getting like a prime rib dinner for $4 or $5, like $4.99, $5.99, something like that. It was a hell of a deal. And I remember going down and going into all the casinos of all the historical casinos. The main one I wanted to see was the Sands, because that's where the Rat Pack hung out. And I was always fascinated by the Rat Pack and the music and the scene of the 60s and 70s of Vegas. So I wanted to make sure I checked those places out. And I'm glad I did, because a year or two later, them places were gone. But I remember going to the Tropicana, the Sands, and on down the line, because I was at that hot south corner of the Strip back in those days. Of course, New York, and none of that stuff was even there yet. It was just, they just built the Excalibur and the MGM, and then you had the Tropicana across the street. So that first day in Vegas was only a one day. I got there in the afternoon, probably about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I had to be on a 5 a.m. flight to get to San Francisco. So I just stayed up pretty much all night, cruising around. I think I slept for maybe 1 hour or something like that, and headed off in this, did that the first part of that trip, and then went into San Francisco and just cruised the streets, and I got the passes, the boarding pass. I'll show you that. It's in that book, but got the boarding pass to the trolley. It was like $6 or something a day. Go down Powell and Hyde and all them different streets there. And remember one day when I was there, I wanted to go over and see the Oakland Coliseum. I'm a big baseball fan, so I wanted to always see where the A's play and where the Raiders play. So I got a BART pass that day and went over, and during this time period, I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was a big deal. Before California got so liberal, they were trying to keep the illegals from coming over and having babies and taking all their health care and things like that. So there was a Proposition 187. And when I got up out of BART, I walked out of BART down the tunnel and go up the stairs. When I got up, there was a riot going on. And they were throwing Molotov cocktails, and it was just complete mayhem. So I jumped back on the BART, and that's the only time I went to Oakland. I was there for like a minute, and then jumped back on the BART, and I didn't care where I was going. I just got on the next one that was parked there, or pulled up, and I said, where the hell it goes, I want out of here. So I don't remember where I ended up. A long ways away. I had to go backtrack and get back to San Francisco, but San Francisco was a cool town. I accidentally ended up in some kind of was it like the House of Satan, I believe it was. I was trying to go to a wax museum, which was very close, and I got the wrong address and ended up at the House of Satan. And some fork-tongued dude, with horns in his head, he must have had a lot of plastic surgery, or he was Satan himself, came out and said, welcome. And I said, I think I'm in the wrong place. But that was pretty close to Fisherman's Wharf. I went down to Fisherman's Wharf and Pier 39 and all, and had lunch one day in Chinatown and all over, some of my favorite movies back then was Dirty Harry, and which took place there, and then that one with my mind's blinked, but the guy that was riding around in that green Mustang and all, Steve McQueen, the Steve McQueen movie. My mind went blank. Anyway, way back, I went back to San Diego and LA for a little bit. I really fell in love with San Diego. It was one of my favorite towns I'd ever been to. I just loved the atmosphere, the culture, everything. The weather was great. And then I went back to Vegas, and in that part of Vegas, I wasn't in a hurry to go, so I stayed for a while. I went to downtown. I really loved the old downtown Las Vegas, and this is before they had the canopy and all, Fremont Street, and you could still see everything open like it used to be, and it was still a road you could drive down. Checked out the Four Queens, the Golden Nugget, which had the big hand of something, I forgot what to call it, but it's a big rotating gold nugget that weighs like 30 pounds or something. I don't know if it's even still there, but back then it was. And there was a California Pizza Kitchen. I remember having lunch there one day. And back then, the Fremont had a top-notch buffet. It was delicious. I don't know if it even, I have no idea if it's still good or even there anymore, but during that time period, too, the Stratosphere was halfway built. There had been a fire, and there had been some kind of problem with investors or something backing out, and it was halfway built and wasn't finished. So I got to see that like in its progress of being built, so that was kind of cool. But it's a cool time period to be in Vegas. It was right before everything kind of became really commercial. When just a few years later, a lot of those hotels were dozed over, and Steve Wynn bought them all up and stuff like that, and it all changed. Well, I want to thank you for joining me on this different kind of video. I hope you enjoyed it. That trip there was kind of a coming of age time period for me. I really enjoyed it. I came back and started culinary school right after that, so it was a good time period just to go out and see the world, on your own for the first time, really being out all by yourself and seeing what's in the world and kind of deciding where you want to live and what you like and things like that. It was a good time period. Anyway, thanks for joining me. Leave any comments or questions you have below. We'll see you next time. There you go. November 8th, 1994, a Tuesday. It's one of the days I bought a pass. I was riding a pass all over San Francisco, checking it out. $6 back then to ride the trolley all day. I wonder how much it is these days. I bet it's a lot more expensive. Anyway, if you guys like this type of video, this book here has all kinds of stuff in it from different trips, so we can talk about other trips and things. There's one from old Astro World. It's been closed and demolished for years. Milwaukee Brewers game I went to. Anyway, let me know in the comments below, and we'll see you next time.